time were they last seen?
At about 5:30. It's not like her to go too far away unless she's going usually to a friend's house.
And who am I speaking to now, Mrs.
Hadaway.
Who's the other mother, Mrs.
Mrs. Fellows.
Right, and they're two 9-year-old girls?
Two 9-year-olds.
Everyone believed the nightmare was over when Russell Bishop walked free from court in 1987.
The man who had been accused of murdering 2 schoolgirls from Brighton has been found not guilty.
Not guilty, lads! Yay!
But in just 3 years, their worst fears would come true again. October 9th, 1986, Brighton, England. 2 best friends, 9-year-old Karen Hadaway and Nicola Fellows, skip out to play after school. They never come home.
She came in, she changed her clothes, and then she went out. She said, I'm going across the road. Michelle came along about 5 o'clock and asked me if I'd seen Karen. I said, yeah, that she was over the road talking to Nicola. She said, she should have been in having her dinner. I thought, oh my God. And that's when we found out they were missing.
The next morning, their bodies are found in Wild Park.
I used to smoke a pipe, so I thought, well, I've been doing house inquiries for 4 or 5 hours. I'll have a quick smoke before I go back to doing them. I got my pipe out, tried to light it, and as I tried to light it, this voice from behind said, "Oi, what are you doing?" And me thinking, oh, I've been caught by the superintendent, who was around, Dave Tomlinson. And I turned around, it was Russell Bishop. He said to me, oh, I'm not going to search anymore. I've been searching all day, and my dog, he's a tracker dog, and we've been looking, and we're going to give it up. I said, well, no, you've got to carry on, and he went, well, I'm not going to look anymore. And I said, no, we've got to keep looking. And he said, well, if I found them and they were dead, I'd get nicked, wouldn't I?
So, she's in somebody's house. But no, she wasn't. And then someone told us that she'd seen her over the park, and she would never go over the park.
Police in Brighton say the 2 schoolgirls found murdered in a park less than half a mile from their homes had been sexually assaulted.
Strangled, violated, discarded like broken dolls.
They come and told me the details about how, and they told me she'd been asphyxiated and that she'd been sexually abused before and after death. And I said, what? What? The girls to have been abducted and taken, lured to that position, for them to be discovered in a place where someone needs to have intimate knowledge of that den, it would suggest a local man.
The community is shattered.
Police believe the 2 girls were killed where they were found, lying side by side, the victims of a strangler who'd molested them first.
Parents lock their doors, children stop playing outside, but when the killer is caught and put on trial, he walks free. What nobody realized was that letting Russell Bishop go would put every child in Brighton in mortal danger.
Everyone was just stunned. What could possibly have gone wrong? We knew that it was Bishop, everybody knew that it was Bishop, yet he'd walked free.
And it would take the courage of one 7-year-old girl to finally stop him.
I started asking about what the person looked like, and she was able to say that it was a man younger than her father. I asked if he was clean shaven or not, and because of my training I actually said, did he have a beard and a moustache? And she was able to say that it was just a moustache.
Let's move forward there. Right, there we are. Have a look. So there we are. Take your time, have a look all the way along.
There was a mirror, one-way mirror. Our victim could look through the mirror at the line of people who were there. Some of them were virtual lookalikes.
And I'm going to ask you in a moment to look through the window at the line of men who are sitting there. I shall then ask you whether the person whom you saw on that day is here.
I think it's number 9.
You think it's number 9? Thank you.
By the end of this video, you'll question everything you thought you knew about justice and witness how one child's bravery saved countless lives. Could this predator have been living in your neighborhood? Brighton, 1986. A working-class community where children played freely in the streets and parents knew their neighbors. Karen Hadaway and Nicola Fellows were inseparable, two bright, bubbly 9-year-olds who loved adventure. Karen lived with her devoted mother, Michelle, who worked tirelessly to provide for her daughter. Nicola came from a close-knit family who cherished their little girl's infectious laugh. October 9th started like any ordinary Thursday. The girls attended school, chatted about weekend plans, and made arrangements to play together after classes.
She came in, she changed her clothes, and then she went out. She said, I'm going across the road.
At 4 p.m., they met up near Karen's home in Mulsacombe. We'll be back before dark, Karen promised her mother. Little did anyone know.
Michelle came along about 5 o'clock and asked me if I'd seen Karen. I said, yeah, that she was over the road talking to Nicola. She said, she should have been in having her dinner. I thought, oh my God. And that's when we found out they were missing.
This was their last ordinary day, but what nobody realized was...
I thought she was hiding and playing up until about 7:30, 8 o'clock, because she was a creature of habit. Used to come in and watch Top of the Pops and EastEnders. When she didn't turn up, then I thought something was amiss there.
A 20-year-old local roofer named Russell Bishop had been watching the children in the neighborhood. He knew their routines, their favorite places to play, their faces.
I think they'd have trusted him, to be honest, and done anything he said. He's obviously told them a cock and bull story. Come up, there's some baby foxes, whatever up here, honey rabbits, you know.
And on this October evening, he was hunting. As darkness fell, panic set in. Karen and Nicola hadn't returned home.
I think in our heart of hearts the next day, we knew that it was going to be bad news and they were going to be found killed or murdered.
Michelle Hadaway frantically searched the streets, calling their names. Neighbors joined the search.
Over the park, the streets, asking people if they've seen the two girls. Nobody's seen them.
By midnight, police were involved. The entire community mobilized. Hundreds of volunteers combed through Brighton's parks, alleyways, and abandoned buildings. Parents clutched their own children tighter, praying for good news. At 7:30 a.m. on October 10th, a searcher made the discovery that would haunt Brighton forever. In Wild Park, hidden in a makeshift den of branches and leaves, lay the bodies of Karen Hadaway and Nicola Fellows.
Police in Brighton say the two schoolgirls found murdered in a park less than half a mile from their homes had been sexually assaulted.
They had been sexually assaulted and strangled.
When they told me, I just collapsed. It's the worst time of my life. I mean, carrying her for 9 months and 9 years, she's gone. No mother should go through that. I will never hear her voice again. And that's the hardest.
They come and told me the details about how they told me she'd been asphyxiated and that she'd been sexually abused before and after death. And I said, what? What?
Police in Brighton have discovered the bodies of two small girls who disappeared yesterday evening. Nicola Fellows and Karen Hadaway were last seen alive playing near their homes at Mulsacombe.
The innocence of an entire community died that morning.
Police believe the two girls were killed where they were found, lying side by side, the victims of a strangler who'd molested them first.
But the next discovery would shock everyone.
The girls to have been abducted and taken, lured to that position, for them to be discovered in a place where someone needs to have intimate knowledge of that den, it would suggest a local man.
During the massive search operation, one volunteer stood out to investigators.
I got to the Wild Park and seen two men sitting on the ground in despair, really. And standing beside them was another man who was shuffling on his feet, whistling, and had his hands in his pockets and just looked totally out of place.
Russell Bishop, a local roofer, seemed unusually interested in the case.
Russell Bishop was always a person of interest. Everybody was saying, why is he doing this? Why has he done that?
He asked detailed questions about the crime scene.
Bishop seemed quite detached by it all, you know, as if, you know, it was an everyday occurrence. When you talk to criminals, they can be very offhand about stuff, and he was, you know, and he was quite well detached. He was, you know, he knew where they were, and here he is talking to a policeman. I think perhaps in his own mind he thought if he's talking to a policeman when they're found, he's in the clear.
Lingered near the bodies and gave conflicting accounts of his whereabouts that evening.
Invariably, people who find bodies don't do it by accident. I thought I would have a chat with this other guy who turned out to be Russell Bishop. That's when I began to think, there's something really wrong here. I said to him, well, what did you do then? And he said, oh, I went across to the bodies and felt both girls around their necks for a pulse. And I thought it was strange because you just, unless he's got a background in medicine, you just wouldn't do it because it'd be much easier to try at the wrist for a pulse.
When police questioned him, his story kept changing. First, he claimed he was home all evening. Then he said he was out with friends. Finally, he admitted to being near Wild Park, but couldn't explain why.
I used to smoke a pipe, so I thought, well, I've been doing house inquiries for 4 or 5 hours. I'll have a quick smoke before I go back to doing them. I got my pipe out, tried to light it, and as I tried to light it, this voice from behind said, "Oi, what are you doing?" And me thinking, oh, I've been caught by the superintendent who was around, Dave Tomlinson. And I turned around, it was Russell Bishop. He said to me, oh, I'm not going to search anymore. I've been searching all day, and my dog, he's a tracker dog, and we've been looking, and we're going to give it up. I said, well, no, you've got to carry on, you know. And he went, well, I'm not going to look anymore. And I said, no, we've got to keep looking. And he said, well, if I found them and they were dead, I'd get nicked, wouldn't I?
Detective work intensified.
We were called over on the morning after the bodies were found. Even on that very first morning, when the first briefing was conducted, you could tell that this was a different form of investigation. I've been involved in previous murder inquiries, but none on the scale that this one reached. This was massive.
Bishop's ex-girlfriend came forward with disturbing information. She revealed that Bishop had made inappropriate comments about young girls and had exhibited violent tendencies during their relationship. Physical evidence began mounting.
While the girls were still missing, a blue sweatshirt was found dumped some distance from Wild Park, but as it turns out, on the route between Wild Park and Bishop's home.
A key item in the investigation, of course, was a Pinto sweatshirt. That came to my knowledge about 3 weeks after the girls were found to have been killed. And Eddie Redmond, the scene investigator, had phoned me and said he needed to see me urgently. And said, I've got this gov, and I think there's blood on it. And I've been reading the statements, and it was found on the route that Bishop took on the way home.
Fibers from Bishop's clothing were found on the victims.
On the blue sweatshirt, there were ivy spores that were consistent with where the girls had been found, but inconsistent with where it had been dumped. There were traces of fibers from the girls' clothing on the sweatshirt. It became very clear that whoever had murdered Nicola and Karen had been wearing this sweatshirt at the time they did that.
The other evidence, the fibre evidence, the paint evidence, the evidence of foliage, that sealed the deal really on that sweatshirt. That was Russell's, and the police could prove that was Russell.
His fingerprints were discovered near the crime scene. While police built their case, the families clung to hope for justice.
We thought, this is it. He's guilty of having killed these 2 children.
Thought that there was sufficient evidence to convict.
Bishop was the murderer. No doubt whatsoever.
Michelle Hadaway became the voice for both girls, demanding answers, pushing investigators to work harder. The Fellows' family struggled with unimaginable grief while supporting the investigation. On October 31st, 1986, Russell Bishop was arrested and charged with the murders of Karen Hadaway and Nicola Fellows.
Russell Bishop was charged with the murder of the 2 girls. Since that time, he's continued to deny both killings.
The community breathed a collective sigh of relief. The monster had been caught, but what they didn't know was that their nightmare was just beginning. December 1987, Lewes Crown Court. The trial that was supposed to bring justice became a catastrophic failure.
A 20-year-old unemployed labourer has been remanded in custody charged with murdering 2 Brighton schoolgirls. Hove Magistrates Court was told this morning that the man, Russell Bishop, had strenuously denied killing 9-year-old Karen Hadaway and her friend Nicola Fellows.
Bishop's ex-girlfriend, Jennifer Johnson, took the stand and committed perjury, lying to protect him.
So at first she identified the sweatshirt as belonging to Russell Bishop. And then at the trial, she changed her mind and said that was not the case. And that became a huge sticking point and scuppered that link between the sweatshirt and the murders and Bishop.
At one stage, they felt absolutely certain that Russell Bishop's girlfriend was going to say, yes, that's his sweatshirt. They didn't know that when she came to court, she was going to never seen it. Don't know what you're talking about.
So the link which police thought they had in the evidence was discounted.
I don't think it was ever in doubt that the killer wore that sweatshirt, and the person that was wearing that sweatshirt was Bishop, and it dented that link of continuity between Bishop and the shirt.
Key evidence was mishandled. The prosecution's case crumbled under scrutiny.
Judge, based around the evidence and the way that the prosecution had been presented and focused, told the jury that if they could not be sure that the girls were dead by 6:30, they must acquit. I think they didn't get any further than that question.
After just 2 hours of deliberation, the jury delivered their verdict: not guilty.
Not guilty, lads!
The man who had been accused of murdering 2 schoolgirls from Brighton has been found not guilty. Russell Bishop had denied murdering Nicola Fellows and Karen Hadaway.
Russell Bishop's parents and brothers emerged from the court to say justice had been done and to cross the road for a celebratory drink.
Russell Bishop walked free. The family had no idea the truth was about to emerge in the most horrific way possible. Michelle Hadaway collapsed in the courtroom.
You feel like everyone's laughing at you, you know? You feel like they're looking at you and thinking that those little girls' lives were worthless.
The Fellows family was devastated.
In the bedroom, and it came over the news, Russell Bishop has been found not guilty of murder. My world collapsed again.
And he knew damn well he did do it, you know what I mean? He'd done it, and he knew he'd done it, but he denied it all the way.
The community felt betrayed by the justice system.
To say that people were disappointed was an understatement. People were devastated because it was all of our firm beliefs that Bishop was responsible.
But Russell Bishop, he celebrated his freedom.
Everyone was just stunned. What could possibly have gone wrong? We knew that it was Bishop. Everybody knew that it was Bishop, yet he'd walked free.
I felt absolutely dreadful because I just knew. Honestly, it sounds, it's all very easy with hindsight. I just knew that man would do it again.
And began planning his next attack. February 4th, 1990. 3 years after walking free, Russell Bishop struck again. 7-year-old Rachel Watts was roller skating outside her Brighton home when a man approached her.
It was really sunny. It was really warm. My dad gave me £1 to go to the local sweet shop, but because we'd been living there not very long, I got lost.
Your mom's been in an accident, he lied. I need to take you to her. Trusting and frightened, Rachel got into his car.
She became aware that there was somebody near a car, and then moments later she was grabbed and put into the boot of the car.
Bishop drove her to a remote area, assaulted and attempted to murder her.
He believed that he strangled me before he sexually assaulted me. I don't know whether I knew at the time. I do know the reason why I didn't talk to my parents and tell them about it earlier was because I was ashamed. When we got to Devil's Dyke, he took me out and threw me on the back seat. He told me to take off all my clothes, and I just complied. I was conscious when he sexually assaulted me.
He pulls up off the road. She was dragged literally forcibly into the back seat of the car. She was strangled, stripped, sexually assaulted, strangled to the point that I honestly believe that he thought that he'd killed her. He took her body, literally took her dead body, as far as he was concerned, naked dead body, and just threw it into the gorse bushes.
But Rachel Watts was not going to be another victim. As Bishop dragged her to an isolated area and began his attack.
Tell me what happened when Mel stopped the car.
He took me out and then took me into the clearing in the wood.
And did he carry you straight to the clearing, or did he take you somewhere else? Or did he put you somewhere else?
He just came straight to the clearing.
Mm-hmm. Yesterday, when we were talking in the hospital, you said that the man got you in the back of the car. Do you know the man? Did the man touch you at all?
Yeah, when you put me in the car and took me out again.
This 7-year-old girl fought back with everything she had. She scratched, she bit, she screamed.
Literally snatched off the street, thrown into the boot of this car. Lid come down and driven off at speed. I mean, how frightening. How awful that must have been for her. And she was able to see certain little things. She saw cans of WD-40, which she describes as the sort of thing that my dad used to use to get the car going. She saw a hammer in there, and with that hammer she started bashing on the bonnet or the back of the boot. Shouted at by the guy who was driving the car, "Shut up, be quiet or I'll kill you." She was frightened to death, absolutely frightened to death, but she kept her wits about her. She took her boots off. If the opportunity was there to run, when the boot was open, she'd want to try and make a dash for it. I mean, this is a little plucky 7-year-old girl.
When Bishop tried to strangle her, she played dead. When he thought she was unconscious, she memorized every detail of his face, his voice, his appearance. Somehow, miraculously, Rachel survived.
I remember it being really cold and knowing that I had to find help. I saw some headlights. My first thought was that it was him again and that he was here to finish me off.
She walked out and into a beauty spot, and there was a couple there having a cup of tea. She approached them. She checked out that they weren't kidnappers and they put a jumper on her and a coat round her and took her down to the golf club where the police were called.
What would you have done in this situation? When police arrived, they found a broken little girl who had endured the unthinkable.
First sort of 24 hours of an inquiry are the most important because that's where the evidence can be really brought together. We had the team who were looking after the little girl. We then had to bring a team in and we had to work out on the information that we were getting, which was sort of being fed back to us all the time. We knew we were talking about, obviously, a paedophile type attack.
I remember very clearly going in and just seeing this very tiny little girl, naked, very, very scarred and bleeding. She was in a mess, quite frankly.
But Rachel did something extraordinary. Through her tears and trauma, she gave investigators the most detailed description they had ever received.
I started asking about what the person looked like, and she was able to say that it was a man younger than her father. I asked if he was clean-shaven or not, and because of my training, I actually said, did he have a beard and a moustache? And she was able to say that it was just a moustache.
And that description matched Russell Bishop perfectly. This time, there would be no escape.
It matches the description that was been given by the little girl. We had the tyre tracks that were identical to the Ford Cortina that was found.
A couple of officers drove up to his house and saw him scrubbing, as if his life depended on it, his car.
When we opened up the boot lid, we saw the WD-40, we saw the hammer, we saw the chip marks in the lid to the boot. There was clothing fibres which later matched up to the ones that the little girl was wearing. There was blood and there was semen. Immediately linking the little girl to Bishop. He's got to be seen, got to be interviewed. Go in there to see him, and immediately it's obvious he's got to be arrested.
Police in Sussex are still questioning a man in connection with the abduction and assault of a 7-year-old girl near Brighton.
Bishop was arrested for the attack on Rachel. During his trial for attempted murder, prosecutors were finally able to connect him definitively to the 1986 murders of Karen and Nicola.
The thing that they need is new and compelling evidence, and they only get one chance to present that evidence.
The key thing about a double jeopardy prosecution is you have to have evidence that's new, compelling and reliable, and that reliability comes with a capital R. But you get one chance with double jeopardy.
Advanced DNA testing, unavailable in 1987, now proved Bishop's guilt beyond any doubt. Rachel's testimony was devastating. The jury saw through his lies. In 1990, Russell Bishop was convicted of the attempted murder of Rachel Watts and sentenced to life imprisonment.
Here, a man who was acquitted of murdering 2 girls in Brighton 3 years ago has been jailed for trying to murder a girl of 7. The judge at Lewis Crown Court said he was imposing a life sentence on 24-year-old Russell Bishop to protect other children from similar attacks.
But the next clue changed everything. In 2018, after years of legal battles, Russell Bishop was finally tried again for the murders of Karen Hadaway and Nicola Fellows. New DNA evidence combined with Rachel's testimony about Bishop's methods.
The sweatshirt was still central to this investigation. Bishop had always denied any knowledge of the shirt at all. And Roy Green decided that he would test the inside of a tear on the cuff of the sweatshirt. And it came back with Bishop's DNA.
When we examined those tapings, we recovered mixed profile of DNA of Russell Bishop and Karen Hadaway. This was massive for us. This was Russell Bishop's DNA on Karen Hadaway's arm.
We knew that there were fibres that had been found that matched the girls on a sweatshirt. So it was an important item right from the start. And so we thought, well, if we re-examine it, maybe we'll be able to establish who'd worn it. It could be deemed that fibres evidence isn't new because it was available at the first trial. And in order to get over that new, he needed something that was compelling.
Roy Green took the view that actually one area that had never been examined before was the cuff. So he actually unpicked the cuff, unpeeled it, and then we were looking for where a DNA from that location. So we took some swabs from that area. And as a result of those swabs, we then got a 1 in a billion link between Russell Bishop and that sweatshirt.
Sealed his fate. After 32 years, justice was finally served. Bishop was convicted of both murders and given a life sentence with no possibility of parole.
Bishop arrived in a prison van for the start of the second trial he's faced, accused of murdering 2 schoolgirls 32 years ago. Their families were in court for the start of the trial.
As the dust settled on the haunting Babes in the Wood case, justice finally caught up with Russell Bishop after decades of heartbreak and unanswered questions.
A convicted paedophile has been found guilty of murdering 2 schoolgirls found strangled and sexually assaulted near Brighton 32 years ago.
Families of the victims, Rachel and Karen, found some closure.
It's been a long time coming, but I am smiling. We're grateful for the first time that someone's actually not slammed a door in our face.
33 years, I know.
But then we did say that we'd come to this park every year until we got justice.
That's right, justice.
But the scars of that night in Wild Park remain etched in the community's memory.
It's made me believe in justice.
And I wanted a little girl and that. You know, just to be taken away from me. You know, I'm 9 years old.
Some people won't believe the truth until it hits them right there, right in the face. This is the truth, and the truth is he murdered 2 little girls. He tried to murder another little girl. He is now wallowing in prison where he should be.
The lone survivor's courage became a beacon of hope, reminding us all that even in the darkest moments, resilience can shine through. But after all these years, one question still lingers. Do you believe true justice was served, or are there still secrets buried in the woods?
This is a moment to remember the 2 girls. We should also acknowledge the courage, persistence and dignity of Karen and Nicola's families. I sincerely hope the families can now find some peace and move forward to the next chapter in their lives.
I said that I'd never stop fighting for justice. And now them little girls can rest in peace.
I used to go into the bedroom where her stuff was in the chest. When I opened the chest and all her stuff was there, and I can just smell her. When the court case finished and we got the verdict, I said, well, now she can go to her angel bed and go to sleep. She hasn't got to worry about anything now. And I know she's around. You can't see her and you can't feel her, but she's there in spirit.
If I could have a wish come true, a dream that'd come to pass, I'd ask to spend a day with you and pray that it would last. I'd run to you and hold you close. We'd laugh and smile again. We would talk about the old times and see how we've both been. My wish go ungranted, but it always will be true. I trade many of my tomorrows for one yesterday with you.
Share your theory in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to Murder Town Mysteries for more chilling real-life stories that will keep you up at night.